we are going to talk about some of the narratives and some of the other stuff. But in terms of, yeah, I wanted to, because we've gone through so many things. We've gone through so many things, and we're still going through, as an industry, all of these I'm like just black swan events. The black swans have become the white swan because it's not even black swan anymore. Like every week there's a black swan, right? We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
way too many black swans in crypto, and all of us, it usually pops up on the weekend. Like USDC popped up on the weekend, like the Binance CFTC, it was like right after the weekend, I think. So, like we are always like kind of holding our breath and, holding, just basically like terrified of like panicking on whatever is happening in the industry. But just want to get your take on, based on all of this things that are happening, how do you see crypto? Like how do you see the vision for crypto and like how do you see this year kind of panning out as well?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, right? I think there's a couple of things that I have to kind of set the context for before we kind of talk about this. I think number one,
Mm,
for us, like we are not in any rush or to see the next bull market. Like whatever kind of rally we see, we will enjoy. But in terms of the tried and true real bull market, and again, it might never happen the same way as the last one, but we're being very very patient, right? So that's the number one thing that I have to say. And so that gives the context that we're like these black swan things. It makes it easier to brush off, right? Because we're not waiting for anything anyway. But
mm,
number two, though, and I think this part is pretty important as well. But I think especially after that last run, I would say that like approaching the future, we're kind of adopting, or we have adopted, more of like an Ethereum maxi mindset, right? And so a lot of what we're waiting for, or what we're trying to invest in, also kind of coincides with the ETH2 roadmap, right? And so going forward, I mean,
interesting. Okay.
obviously, like the Shanghai and Capella are coming up next month, right? And so and then Egan Lair, they also announced, like they finally officially announced their fundraise today. Like
Mm-hmm.
Obel Network announced their fundraise a couple months ago. We're definitely starting to see a lot of these like very EVM slash like ETH2 specific infrastructure projects, and for us, like that's very exciting, right? Like that's the type of stuff that we're kind of trying to follow. And in terms of like how do we see the future, well, we see the future as ETH sort of pans out, right? Like it's going to get cheaper, it's going to get more secure, there are going to be more and more validators. How do we use all of the resources that are available on the chain, and how do we further maximize the efficiency of all those resources? And so
Mm,
yeah, and so I think that kind of opens up a lot of different sort of all kinds of different potential to look at, whether it's modular chains, or
right.
what's the future of like optimistic rollups and zk rollups, right? Like there's just so many things, like what's going to happen to all of the other monolithic chains that exist. What about all the new ones that are trying to gain community and gain users and things
Right.
like that? So yeah.
Got it. What about so I just to caveat this question, I usually use these spaces to basically catch up on things that I haven't really organized, or things that I need to know more about. So apologies, the question comes a little bit more rudimentary, but I haven't really looked into, like the E 2.0. I know it's going to be, like transitioning from proof of work and proof of stake with the Shanghai upgrade. And basically, I think that like like with all the research that's going on, I think there is a lot of excitement, but in terms of like the, I guess, systematic or like structural difference, I haven't really looked into. So like when you mentioned like Egan Layer or some of the other ones, I've heard of the name, and obviously like I've like skimmed through it, but I just don't know what structural change that those kind of like with the upgrades and stuff like would bring. So is there anything that that people should be aware about with E 2.0 and some of these other projects that are coming up to change some of the structures that were built by ETH, I guess like POW ETH?
Yeah, so I guess a couple of things, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that these projects are going to um, like it's not like a one-to-one type of thing where it's like these projects are responsible for helping Ethereum achieve its roadmap.
Mm,
But I think the foundation of of what's safe to say right now is that with projects like EigenLayer, for example, like
mm,
we can for Egan there specifically, we can say that so I'll kind of explain how it works, right? So right now Ethereum is bootstrapped by a bunch of validators, right? And so essentially there's a ton of ETH just sitting there validating Ethereum. But what they
yeah.
want to do is they want to take this ETH and then also repurpose it for other middleware. So like like oracles and like bridges and stuff like that,
Mm.
where it's kind of like, hey, we could further decentralize this by adding more validators, and it wouldn't take more resources because we could kind of just double dip from the Ethereum that is um,
Interesting.
already validating
Right.
Ethereum,
So
right? Yeah.
kill two birds with one ETH, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And this also brings further benefits of like, down the line, ideally, technically speaking, if this all works, we will see a more decentralized Ethereum, which is one of the huge pain points, right? Like that's like one of like as the Ethereum roadmap has like successfully, maybe a little bit behind schedule, but as it has successfully scaled, I think the one pain point that a lot of critics have is still like, okay, well, it's actually just not decentralized, right? And so a lot of these
Mm,
things, in addition to like liquid staking derivatives, right, which it was a huge thing last year and kind of early this year, all
mm-hmm.
of those types of things, it helps people participate in the validation. It makes it more diverse.
Got it. So it's basically like it brings in more participation then. It
Exactly.
allows ETH to be more interactable and they have more utility to a wider group of people.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, are you, so I've been hearing a lot about the whole, I think it's the unstaking aspect of ETH.
Yeah.
And there's going to be like an outflow of ETH that's going to be unstaked, and that may have negative price action on ETH through that, at least in the short term. Like how much validity is there to that I guess like to that concern?
So I think that's a good question, right? And I think in the very, very, very beginning, when this narrative was formed, everybody had the consensus that, oh shit, the withdrawals are coming, the price is going to dump, and kind of based on your agenda. I mean, if you looked at Twitter, there are a lot of people saying like, oh shit, like most of these validators, their average price is like way below the current price of ETH, right? Because they've been staked in for so
Right.
and whatnot. But I think if you really look into the withdrawal mechanisms, like first of all, there are a handful of upgrades that you have to make, which I do believe everybody will make in order to withdraw, right? But then
Mm.
let's just say everybody wants to withdraw at the same time. That's actually not possible, right? Because it's kind of like it's all based like day by day. There's pretty much a cap to how many people can withdraw at the same time. And so, will there be like, will the price be affected? Yeah, I'm sure the price will be affected by like speculation, right? As it always will, as it always will be. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that this is like some like what could be worse than like FTX, right? Like, are we gonna see three? What are we gonna see?
Yeah.
3-digit ETH? Like, I mean, hey, I don't want to speculate, but probably not, right? And so.
Mm.
There's some pretty good there's some pretty good articles actually on Twitter that explain how this entire withdrawal works. And so if I can just really quickly find it, I actually think everybody should go take a look because
Oh yeah, let me know. And then I can pin it to the spaces as well.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody should take a look at that because one, it's really well written, and then two, the person that wrote it, she does like a lot of really cool stuff. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay.